great TV is generally only born from genuine commitment and belief in the project, rather than anyone trying to stick it to somebody out of spite. But these 10 shows, well, they definitely proved otherwise. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is Whatculture.com, and these are 10 TV shows probably made out of spite. Number 10. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series may have premiered in 1997, but the IP had origins which were much earlier when Joss Whedon sold a feature film script based on the concept in 1991. Though Whedon was involved in the film's production as an advisor, he left after growing frustration with changes to his vision. Fox executives removed many of his jokes, and he bristled with the director, who was reshaping the film into a broader comedy project. Despite being poorly reviewed, Buffy was a modest commercial success, albeit not enough for Fox to press on with any further films. But a few years later, Whedon was approached to adapt his vision into a TV series, which he successfully packaged and sold to the Warner Brothers network. With his original tone kept intact and original star Kristy Swanson swapping out for Sarah Michelle Gellar, Whedon was finally able to bring his distinct vision of supernatural high school drama to the masses. Number 9. 24 Legacy. Belated spin-off series don't come much more perfunctory or begrudgingly than 2017's 24 Legacy, which attempted to recycle the action thriller series' real-time formula with a new actor. This was due to lead Kiefer Sutherland deciding not to return after 2015's miniseries event Live Another Day, where he tried to convince the writers to kill him off, suggesting that Jack could detonate a grenade after surrendering himself to the Russians. But Fox executives flat out refused to kill Jack, and so, when stuck with a hugely recognizable IP and an unwilling star, decided to just press on with a new protagonist, former Army Ranger Eric Carter. But amidst disappointing ratings and mediocre reviews, Legacy was cancelled after just a single season, the consensus being that 24 without Sutherland simply didn't work, and Fox was daft for even trying. Number 8. His Dark Materials. You can sense the spite dripping off the BBC and HBO's co-produced His Dark Materials series, which is based on Philip Pullman's fantasy novel franchise of the same name. And this is because it followed Hollywood's attempt to translate his novels into a mega-budget movie property, with 2007's star-studded $180 million tentpole The Golden Compass. But between mixed reviews and a consensus from fans that the film had sanitized the book's religion-critical themes, all planned sequels were promptly nixed. Philip Pullman was then forced to wait until the rights to the books reverted back to him, after which he swiftly began shopping a new take on His Dark Materials around. Eventually, it landed as a series with the BBC and HBO, where Pullman ensured it would offer up a far more faithful take on his material, as it absolutely has so far. It's quite a victory for the author, and proof that some properties are just so much better suited for TV over film. Number 7. The Conners. Legendary US sitcom Roseanne was revived for a belated 10th season in 2018, more than 20 years after its original run wrapped up with the revelation that the events of the last season never actually happened. Oh, and Roseanne's husband Dan was suddenly killed off to make matters worse. It's a finale that left fans sharply divided, and season 10's premiere sought to rectify this by basically retconning Dan's death and deeming it as just another part of Roseanne's fictional book that she was writing during the 9th season. But the spite truly came about when Roseanne's revival was swiftly cancelled after a single season due to racist remarks made by Roseanne Barr on social media. Yet given the critical acclaim and strong ratings that the season 10 received, ABC decided to pivot by kicking Roseanne out and creating a new series without her, The Conners. This new show basically brought back everybody else, and in an act that ensured that Barr could never return, killed Roseanne off via an opioid overdose. It was a definitive flipping of the bird at Barr. Number 6. Scrubs Med. Now, if you want to get technical about this, Scrubs Med is actually Scrubs' 9th season, but the series creator Bill Lawrence himself doesn't see this part of the original run and even asked network ABC to name it Scrubs Med to ensure that audiences knew that it was a tangential spin-off. The issues between Lawrence and ABC stemmed from the fact that Lawrence was led to believe that Scrubs' 8th season would be its last, allowing him to provide an affecting farewell to both Sacred Heart and the show's central characters. But ABC later approached Lawrence about producing a spin-off which, for legal reasons, or more likely a desire to milk the Scrubs brand for every drop it was worth, had to be considered Scrubs' 9th season. Despite his frustrations with how the spin-off was branded, Lawrence pushed ahead, though he had the production team add a med school caption to the show's opening titles, despite the series still being officially called Scrubs. Season 9's ratings fast declined, however, and it wasn't renewed for a 10th. Today, most fans consider Season 8's terrific finale the show's true ending, and Season 9 just a bit of a mere curio. Number 5. CSI Cyber. For around a decade, CSI was an absolutely unstoppable ratings juggernaut, and between its original Las Vegas series and Miami and New York spin-offs seemed totally bulletproof. But by 2013, the spin-offs had closed up shop and the original series ratings were fast dwindling, resulting in the inaugural iteration of CSI finally wrapping up in 2015. But because the CSI brand is so immediately recognizable, CBS made the decision to try and soft reboot the series with CSI Cyber, a spin-off focused on cybercrime starring Oscar winner Patricia Arquette and Ted Danson. You can practically sense the desperation to keep the CSI name alive in every pore of cyber, an unintentionally hilarious attempt to make CSI cool again, but one which ultimately overindulged in trashy tech thriller cliches. Due to risible reviews and mediocre ratings, CSI Cyber was cancelled after just 2 seasons, bringing CSI's 15-year reign as the king of procedural crime TV to a pretty shocking end. Number 4. And just like that. Ever since the second Sex and the City film was released in 2010, fans have been wondering when a third would come to pass. In 2016, rumours began to circulate that a script for a third film had been written, though in late 2017 it was confirmed to have been cancelled, allegedly due to Kim Cattrall not wanting to return. Now, much has been written of the actress who plays fan favourite character Samantha Jones and how she bristled with co-stars, especially Sarah Jessica Parker, over the course of the show. And so, when HBO began assembling a new revival series to premiere on HBO Max, the bold decision was made to simply just go ahead without her for the spin-off series. And given that fans spotted the cast shooting what appeared to be a funeral scene, it's entirely possible that Samantha has been killed off, just to rub that salt in the wound. Number 3. Snowpiercer. Terrific 2013 sci-fi thriller film Snowpiercer was a moderate commercial success at best, despite receiving strong film reviews from critics, and in the years that followed, it failed to break out of its cult niche appeal despite the talented cast and crew involved. The decision was soon enough made then to reboot the IP as a TV series, and after years in development, Snowpiercer finally debuted in 2020 to rather mixed but overall positive reviews. Now, one suspects the feeling amongst Snowpiercer's rights holders was that the branding was rich and interesting, but because of the 1-inch tall subtitles barrier that Bong talked about while accepting an Oscar for Parasite, the South Korean thriller begged to be reimagined in the English language. And given its episodic potential, a TV series made more commercial sense than a mere Hollywood movie remake. This isn't to say that the Snowpiercer series feels like a particularly lazy or cynical exercise overall, but simply that it speaks to a wider frustration that non-English language films still struggle to score the mass audiences that they actually deserve. Number 2. Twin Peaks: The Return. When it was announced that David Lynch would finally be producing a third series of his hit mystery series Twin Peaks, the general assumption was that it would both rectify 1991's intensely divisive second season finale and finally tie off all of the overarching mysteries. But Lynch, being Lynch, he delivered anything but a conventional follow-up and seemingly went about testing just how far he could push the bounds of episodic TV. For starters, fans were expecting to see the possessed protagonist, FBI agent Dale Cooper, to return to his normal self within a couple of episodes at most, but Lynch made fans wait 16 of the show's 18 episodes before we got that payoff. Beyond that, the season ended on yet another, albeit less divisive, cliffhanger. That isn't to say that The Return isn't brilliant, because it frequently is, but it also felt like Lynch sticking his fingers up at conventionally episodic, cliffhanger-dependent, water-cooler TV shows and challenging everyone to consider the medium's true experimental potential. And number 1, Hellstrom. In May 2019, Hulu commissioned a series based on the Marvel Comics characters Damon and Satana Hellstrom. But in the middle of filming Hellstrom, Marvel Television was absorbed into Marvel Studios, resulting in the showrunner at the time, his contract with Marvel being terminated. Though he continued to work on the series' post-production, by July 2020, Disney had removed the Marvel moniker and renamed the show simply as Hellstrom, in order to distance its horrific tone from the more family-friendly Marvel Cinematic Universe vibe. While originally intended to be a tangential part of the MCU in much the same way that Netflix's Marvel shows were, Disney and Marvel Studios made every effort possible to downplay this, and beyond a few MCU Easter eggs, it's largely standalone. In what felt like nothing more than a perfunctory obligation by Disney, Hellstrom was released last October and promptly cancelled by Hulu 2 months later. Predominantly negative reviews from critics likely didn't help its case for survival. This marked the end of Marvel Television's live-action Marvel series, with Marvel Marvel Studios now overseeing the production themselves. Though there is no doubt that the team wanted to make a quality show, those at the top at Disney clearly just wanted to pull the plug, but per contractual commitments to Marvel Television, begrudgingly pushed ahead with the completion of Hellstrom's production and low-key release.